I need to have a vent session for a second about the state of affairs in this country. So I have two adult children. One is 18 going on 19 and the other one is 21. My 18-year-old is working currently as an HVAC apprentice and working on getting certified, but he's making $16 an hour, which I live in a small to mid-sized Missouri town, so that's pretty typical around here. Wages are, low compared to a lot of places, but so is the cost of living. But he would also not like to be living at home with mom forever. He's more of like an independent, autonomous person, so apartment living is not for him at all. He wants a place where he can have his truck and his dirt bikes and be able to work on motors and have the freedom to do what he wants with the place and also be able to have all of his stuff. And at this point, honestly, renting a house would cost more than a mortgage payment anyway, but he's been looking for houses and just trying to figure out what he can afford and what he can do. And he found this place that was only $125,000, which is dirt cheap around here. That just doesn't exist anymore, but it had no basement. It was on a slab foundation, I think, and probably needed some work, which he is naturally talented at that stuff. He works in HVAC. He's very mechanical.
Hey, bro, by the way, 125K here in Cali, now where I am, it's like $1 million for a tiny ass house, bro. So that just shows the cost of living disparity in the country, I'm not gonna lie. And just in the world entirely. It's just hella expensive here.
Inclined, he can do this stuff, so he's not afraid of a fixer-upper. Found out that the main reason it was priced so cheap is because it was in a flood zone, so it was a no anyway. But keep in mind, $125,000 house in this economy, and when we looked up to see if he did a 5% down payment on this thing with your insurance and PMI and taxes and everything, his payment would still be $1,100 a month for a cheap piece of crap house. And just the look of absolute dread on his face when he realized how completely unaffordable and unattainable it is for him to be able to buy a house and live on his own. Now, my oldest son just turned 21. He's been waiting.
That's actually true because 1,100 a month, and right now he's making 16 an hour. That just doesn't add up at all, bro. I'm not gonna lie. It just doesn't work. But then once he becomes his actual own HVAC guy, then maybe it's more plausible. You know what I mean?
To turn 21 because he wants to get into the cannabis industry, and it's just like the alcohol industry where if you want to be a brewer or a bartender, you have to be 21 in order to do it. So this past week, Thursday, he interviewed for a job with a grower, and just a couple of days ago, he was offered the position and officially accepted it. And in that time, less than a week, we decided to start a war with Iran. And so when he interviewed for the job, gas prices were around $2.50 a gallon where I'm at, and now they are already at $3 a gallon and climbing. So just in the time between when he interviewed for this job and when he accepted this job, gas prices have gone up 50 cents a gallon, and they're not done climbing yet. And this is an issue because this job, there's a lot of dispensaries here in town where if he had, ended up there, he'd probably be a little bit better off. But this was the job opening that was available at the time for him to get into the industry. And it is a farm, which is 30 miles up the interstate from where we live. So now he is going to be driving one way to work 30 miles at a time when gas prices are going through the roof, because we decided it was a good idea to start a completely unwarranted, unjustified, and unnecessary war with Iran. And I'm now sitting here thinking about my own situation, where my own currently hourly wage is, and considering if I was their age, if I was just starting out. So thinking about buying the same house that I live in right now at its current value, at current interest rates, with the same percent down payment that I paid for this house back in 2017. And I realized that my payment would be double what it currently is. And I, as a 40-year-old woman who has been working for 24 years of my life, could not afford this place on my own. At 40 years old, I would need a roommate in order to live in this very modest, 1,300 square foot, 1968 ranch style home. It's not.
I think a lot of older people, especially the ones in my comments, they need to realize this. The cost of living, it just is so bad right now. I mean, do you hear her? This lady, she's been working 24 years. She did the math on her own, and she knows that she would not be able to afford this house right now. You know what I mean? That really just shows, because she did everything by the book. I mean, you've been working 24 years. You should be able to make a good livable wage by then for sure. But you just can't buy a house still. You know what I mean? So that just shows that there's really a problem going on right now.
Not a fancy house by any stretch. It's what most people would consider to be essentially a starter home by today's standards. And I could not afford it on my own on my current wages. So my question is, how the hell are we expecting these young kids to do it? For someone to start out, even in my area, in rural Missouri, they would have to make $30 an hour in order to be earning a living wage, in order to live on their own and support themselves without the help of a spouse or a roommate, just for a single person to live and make it on their own, to be able to afford a vehicle payment, vehicle insurance, a mortgage or rent payment, and all of the utilities and groceries and cell phone bills and stuff that go along with just living your life. That's no fun stuff. It's just to live. They would need to make $30 an hour. Meanwhile, we have a government that is more interested in starting wars and harassing other countries and harassing immigrants that are living in this country than they are with their own people, than they are with helping the working class in any way, shape, or form with any kind of meaningful legislation or reform. We have a do-nothing Congress that is sitting on their hands and doing absolutely nothing to help any of the working class people. I'm mad about it for myself, but I'm even more mad about it for my children. Something needs to change. Something's got to give. And frankly, at the midterms, like, it would be great if the Democrats are able to take over, because at least they'll do something to stop the nonsense that is happening in the executive branch that is going on unchecked. But are they going to do anything to actually help the working class people? At the end of the day, even the Democrats are doing the absolute bare minimum to be able to claim that they are for the working class, because they, right along with the Republicans, are taking money from wealthy campaign donors, and any policy, any legislation that they pass ultimately is going to help them and not us. So where does this end? How far does this go before we, the people, cannot afford to live no matter what age we are?
Not gonna lie, I love how she like actually put it in, like put herself into their shoes, see if like she could afford to live right now. You know what I mean? She actually like did the math on it, etc., to understand what's going on right now. But a lot of people around her age, I don't want to be rude or anything, but they're very ignorant to the situation right now. And it's like, if you really took the time to sit down and understand how it is right now, you would have a different opinion on it, rather than being so ignorant to the fact that it's difficult and completely different than before. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying like it was super easy in the past or whatever, but I'm just saying it's different. You know what I mean? And it's very difficult. But on to the next video.
Dog, I think I'm done with fucking boomers as a whole. And this is not a unpopular opinion. I think most people in my generation and the next generation are done with what boomers have to offer the world, which is absolutely nothing substantial. All they do is take, and then heel over and die. And then hoard their wealth, and then no transfer of wealth takes place. I'm sick of it. And I just saw a video of a daughter and father discussing the current housing situation, right? Father was boomer, daughter probably Gen Z or in my generation, right? She was discussing how it's hard to find a mortgage that's affordable, and he immediately comes with, well, you're paying all that money in rent, that's why you can't afford a mortgage. And she's like, right, exactly. And he was just like, well, you need to save up your money. She's like, how am I supposed to save up money when I'm trying to pay rent? And then he just turns around and is just like, I can't talk to you about this.
It's like when they don't have anything to respond with, then it's just like, just whatever, you're not gonna understand. You know what I mean? It's just like it like invalidates you because it doesn't fit into how they perceive the world. You know what I mean? But let me know in the comments what you guys think, though. You know what I mean? I know you guys are gonna disagree with me because my audience is kind of older, so we'll see the comments.
And his excuse for like, she was like, well, you were able to afford houses because the housing market was more affordable. The economy was more, I would say it was the living wage at the time. It equated, at least to a certain extent, whatever that housing market was. And the job market, same thing there, right? And his thing was like, I worked my ass off. So are we, man. We work our ass off too. But we were in a completely different economy back then, completely different job market back then, and completely different housing market back then. And they can't seem to understand that. I don't understand why there's so much disconnect. And that's what the thing that pisses me off the most, is that you cannot have a conversation with these boomers without them bringing up the two talking points that they love to use, which is like, I worked my ass off, and insinuating that we're not, or two, that you need to save more money. In this economy, that's actually very fucking hard.
Yeah, because, you know, cost of living, rent, that takes up most of your paycheck, or in some cases is more than your paycheck, you know what I mean? But when it comes to spending and like not being able to save, they ignore the fact that all of that has been inflated, and they talk about how like, oh, Gen Z just buys their Starbucks, Gen Z just buys their boba, they just buy their avocado toast, yada yada yada. But they ignore the fact that the wages don't keep up with the rent or mortgages, you know what I'm talking about? Again, let me know in the comments what you guys think, right?
I try my very best to save money. In fact, I actually think I'm doing a pretty damn good job. I put at least 25% of my paycheck, every single paycheck goes to savings, at least 25%. And half the time it's usually more than that. And guess what? I still don't have even a fraction of what it would cost to purchase a mortgage. And I would have to do that monthly. Like, even if we were to incrementally increase the wages, what do you think is going to happen to the housing market? It's going to do the exact same fucking thing. And that's what I don't seem to understand. These people who had an amazing economy, an amazing job market, an amazing housing market, and they just hoarded it and then kept it to themselves and then kept on buying more properties because they were the only generation with the wealth to be able to purchase these properties. And when now that they have 3 summer homes and 1 actual house that they live in, they're trying to sell like the other 3 houses. Guess what? There is not a single American family, or at least majority of American families, cannot afford that mortgage. So who purchases these properties? Who do you think? It's investment firms and like BlackRock and shit, which only decreases the supply of houses that are actually on the housing market that are affordable. And what do you think they're gonna do? If you think boomers were greedy, guess how greedy investment firms are, and BlackRock is, and all these people who buy out properties and then rent them out to spaces like that's the thing that pisses me off as well, is that like these boomers aren't buying houses to live in them. They're just buying houses to accumulate wealth for their retirement. And then guess what's going to happen when they fucking die? Or if they do retire, guess what's going to happen to that money? It's going to go into their end of life care. And then whatever 25% of it is left over, it's going to go to the children. And that's one fantastic transfer of wealth. It's really, really shitty. And I'm at a point right now where I think I'm just done with boomers as a whole, man. I cannot wait until they get into that casket. Like, genuinely. Like, it's not to say the entire generation is.
I feel like we're pushing it a little far. Okay, I don't think he means it. He's just angry for real. Like, I don't think he means I can't wait for these boomers to get into the casket. You know what I mean? That's messed up to say. But, you could see where his frustration is coming from. You know what I mean? But I don't think he means it for real. So don't be too offended by that.
Bad, but almost every example I see is just like cannot seem to put themselves in the point of view of this generation and the next generation, have fucked it up for their kids and their grandkids, and they just don't care. And their excuses are the same every single time. You got to work harder and you got to save money. It's like those are the basics of stuff, man. Like, we all get that. Do you think just a bunch like and then like the avocado toast, you're spending money on no, dude. We have unaffordable prices across the board. And we have a wage that is not livable across the board. And we have houses that we are trying to live in, not just increase the wealth of these fucking properties, trying to start a family within these houses. And the options are limited at best. I'm fucking done with them. I'm fucking done with boomers.
To be honest, you can see where his frustration comes from around the topic, you know what I mean? And he's somebody who's probably experienced it firsthand, which is why he has so much of this pent-up rage. You know what I mean? So this last video, it's kind of off topic a little bit. It's kind of related to the job market, I guess. So let's get into it.
Just left Target, shopping and ordering in a college town, whatever. I'm the old man. Don't worry, I'm minding my business. But I'm starting to ask you all more questions, all you college kids. So if you're 18 to 25, listen up. I just spoke to some girl. She was like, yeah, world and everything else. I'm like, okay, so you're on board with what's going on in the world, right? Clueless about the history and everything else in the world, but that's not the case, not the point. So what do you major in? She's like, architecture. And I said, Why are you in school then? She's like, what do you mean? AI and everything else is not going to affect my job. Look at it. Do you think in America right now that we need 1 million architects to design squares? I've been to every city, damn near every town. Do you think we need this world needs 1 million more graduating architects to design squares? You don't think a fucking computer can do that? I deliver all these, every delivery app possible. Do you know how every one of them switched to AI? It's almost impossible to get in touch with somebody now. You don't think an AI cannot figure out the math and then figure out how much concrete and everything else to pour a circle or pour a square? Engineering, hospital, everything. Why do you think these corporations are investing so much money in everything else? They don't care. They're going to get pushed through because none of you give a shit. You are the ones that are holding this anchor down. You young kids. You sit here and attend bullshit classes that, I'm sorry, I've taken a lot of college courses. None of them. You're going to end up hustling your friends and family to sell them bullshit things in your life, or you're going to send emails, and that's your life for the next 40 to 50 years. Enjoy. You're going to travel to maybe 3 or 4 states. You're never going to see anything. You're never going to have any time, and then you're going to fucking end up pissing and shitting yourself and then die. A lot of you have no chance to have an opportunity to have families. Have you even collectively thought about even if you had kids, what their rent's going to be? It's going to be $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $12,000 for a bullshit fucking 1-bedroom apartment, and they're going to be reading the same bullshit books that you fucking read that don't do anything in this world.
Yeah, to be honest, hella people are scared. Like hella people in my generation, they're scared about having kids because they're like, the market is so bad right now, cost of living is so bad, and they've seen that firsthand, and it's only gonna get worse. So why would you want kids and bring them into like this cycle of just surviving? You know what I mean? That's a lot of people's perspectives on it right now.
We've been lied to. 50% of the jobs in this country don't even require, I'm talking real good, whatever jobs, don't even require college education. You can go and buy a steam cleaner and go around to fucking people's lazy ass house and say, listen, I'll rip off three rooms in your house for $400, take you like 4 hours. You can do that 3 times a day for fucking 300 days a year, and then retire after 5 years. Or you can just go ahead and just get fucked up and do drugs and just watch the government strip and take away, charge you for a fucking bullshit, meaningless education. Meanwhile, they give it to other countries for free on our working back tax dollars. Keep the anchor down. Never break that chain, and you're going to be a fucking slave for the rest of your life. It's time for y'all to stop attending classes. I'm dead serious. It's going to get you nowhere.
To be honest, this guy seems like one of those like woke uncles that you'd be talking to at like some random party, you know what I'm talking about? But I mean, he does have some valid points, you know what I mean? It's like AI can take over a lot of stuff, and government's kind of messing everybody up. Everything's up in prices, yada yada yada. But you know, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I don't mean to be rude when talking about the old generation or anything like that. It's just, you know, I'm just trying to understand their perspectives, give them my perspective. Not trying to come up with anything rude. If you guys disagree with what I take, just let me know in the comments. You know what I mean? I'll respond to your comment. But yeah, like and subscribe if you guys enjoyed the video. See you guys in another one. Have a good day. Peace out.